Have you ever read a verse in the Bible and you thought, well, that doesn't make sense? If you have, you're not alone. And I wanted to talk about one today that in our grieving journey just doesn't make sense and what God showed me about it. I pray this episode blesses you. Welcome to Unlocking Joy After Grief. My name's Courtney, wife, mama of 6 kiddos, one in heaven waiting for us. And that's why I'm here. In 2017, we lost our 4-year-old son, Sam, and it's my joy to share with you everything this journey has taught me. So if you're ready for biblical encouragement, first-hand lessons, and support from a fellow grieving mama, then let's lace up our shoes and begin walking this road together. Hey friends, it feels so good to be back behind the mic. I took a little bit of an unplanned break, but it's so good to be back sharing the faithfulness of Jesus and the hope that we can have through our grief journey with you all. There are a lot of things in our Christian walk that just don't make sense. The first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Give God 10% of your money, and He'll bless the rest of the 90% to be more than if you had kept the 100%. If you want to be a leader, you have to serve. So there's things that feel backwards compared to like this economy, the world systems, because we don't live by the world system. We lived in the kingdom and the kingdom principles, and a lot of times they're backwards. It doesn't seem like it should make sense. And there's a verse that I want to talk about today that kind of fits that, especially if you've lost a child. It doesn't feel like it should work. And the verse is Matthew 5:4. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. So I want to split this verse up, and I want to talk about the first part, and then we'll talk about the second part later. So the first part says, blessed are those who mourn. Now, I don't know about you, but there was not one part of me that felt blessed after I lost Sam. As I was going through the grieving process, blessed was not a word that I would use to describe that time, especially in the early days where you're just fighting to survive. But these were words straight from Jesus. He said, blessed are those who mourn. So how is that possible? How can going through what we went through, it was so extremely hard, how can we be blessed while we're mourning? And this is another one of those verses that I just think we need a little time, little Holy Spirit revelation to fully understand what Jesus is talking about, because Jesus does not lie. And so when He said, blessed are those who mourn, there has to be a reason He said that. Now, I'm coming at this with the perspective of time. So if you're early in your grief journey and you're like, Courtney, there's no way that I can feel blessed in this. I understand. I was there. I was with you completely. I get it. But it will be 9 years this summer since we lost Sam. And so I do have time under my belt to be able to have the perspective to look back. If you're in the beginning, if you're in the middle, you can't look back at something time hasn't given you the opportunity to do that, right? You're still in the early parts and you're just focusing on surviving, and that is okay. That's what you need to do. But because I have been walking this grief journey for so long, I can look back and I understand it now. And that's why I wanted to record this episode, is in case you ever come across this verse and you're like, well, Jesus, I know that you don't lie, and everything in this word is truth, but I do not feel blessed right now. I want this to be a little encouragement for you of why I believe Jesus said this, at least in my own journey, what I have discovered. Because you see, He didn't leave it at that first part. Blessed are those who mourn, period. He didn't stop there. There's a second part of that verse. It says, for they shall be comforted. for they shall be comforted. Blessed are those who mourn. Why? Why are they blessed? For they shall be comforted. So why are we blessed? Because when we grieve, when we're mourning, it leads us to the Comforter. There are parts of God's heart that I believe I never would have seen or experienced had I not lost Sam. I recorded an episode about this. It's been a while back, but I wanted to bring it back here because I believe it fits. There was a pastor that talked about this one time, and it has stuck with me. And I constantly bring it back in my mind because of what an amazing revelation it is, and I believe it fits with this verse. There's a verse that says, He is close to the brokenhearted. God is omnipresent. That means He is everywhere. Psalm 139, 7 through 10 says, Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there, your hand will guide me and your right hand will hold me fast. So that verse is saying, it doesn't matter where you go, on earth, in heaven, God is there. His spirit and His presence are everywhere. So if that verse is true, how could He be close to the brokenhearted? He's already there. He's already everywhere. So how can He be closer to the brokenhearted? And I believe it's because God saves a little part of His heart, a little part of His love, specifically for people who are grieving, who are hurting, who are brokenhearted. It's like He's already close, but when you're hurting so bad, it's like He just pulls you in just a little bit closer. And I felt that. I have felt that in my journey, my grief journey. I have felt that nearness of the Father that I would not have experienced had I not lost Sam. You see, Jesus understands. He understands our grief. He understands our sorrow. It says He was a man acquainted with many sorrows. And so He understands. And He can meet us in our grief. He can meet us where we're at. And so I believe, just in my own understanding, that that's what that verse means. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. So the reason that we're blessed is because we get to see a side of God that we would not get to see if we hadn't lost something so precious to us. And for me personally, it strengthened my love for Jesus, my relationship with Him, because I have seen how many times He's been there for me over and over and over again. Like I said, it'll be 9 years and He hasn't left me one time. And I know that He'll be with me until the day that I die and go to heaven, or He comes back and gets us and we're all reunited again. Jesus will be with me. And that is something I wouldn't have seen to this level had I not lost Sam. Now, having that revelation of that verse, of course, doesn't take the pain of the grief away and what we have to walk through. But I think if you look at it as, because we have to walk through this grief journey and this pain, we get to experience God's heart in ways that we wouldn't have experienced it, that other people don't get to experience because they haven't lost someone. In that way, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. And so my prayer for you today, if you're whatever part of your grief journey that you're in, my prayer for you today is that you will feel the presence of the Comforter. Even if we never really feel the first part of that verse, like, even though the Holy Spirit gave me that revelation, would I call myself blessed because I lost Sam? No, I'm going to be honest with you. I would not. But I have felt the second part of that verse. So I see where Jesus is coming from. I see why He would say, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted, because you get to experience a level of God and His love and His comfort that you wouldn't experience if you hadn't have lost your child. And so my prayer is that you will feel that presence, that peace, that comfort that can only come from Jesus. We have something that the world doesn't have, and it's hope. A hope that when we lost our child here, it wasn't goodbye. It was just see you later, that we will see them again. This is not our home. We're just passing through in eternity. When we die or when Jesus comes back, that's the beginning of the greatest adventure that we will be on. And it's an adventure that we get to share with everyone that we've lost before us. They're there waiting for us to get there. And that's the hope that we can have. That's the hope that we can carry through our grieving journey. And we never have to walk it alone. Jesus is with us every step of the way. And so when you read this verse or you hear it somewhere and you think, I do not feel blessed, know that that's okay. But I hope this gives you a little bit of light of why I think that verse is there, is because of the second part. For they shall be comforted. You will be comforted because He is comfort. And He will never leave you. Hi, Mama. I hope this episode blessed you. If so, would you mind sharing it with a fellow grieving mama who may need some encouragement on her grief journey? Also, please take 30 seconds and leave a rating and a written review wherever you listen to this episode. Reading your reviews brings so much joy to my heart, and I love connecting with you in that way. All right, I'll see you here next Thursday for another episode. Love you, friend.